Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Halo Talk. And this episode is going to be pretty different because I am not doing the live podcast anymore. I used to record it with the GoPro, and then I'd be filming a live podcast on my phone. I don't really want to do that. I'm cutting away from the podcast because I think most people just want to see it on YouTube. So I have my phone recording. I think I'm just going to do sort of like a YouTube podcast. I'm still testing this thing out. I'm just not really sure exactly what I'm gonna do yet. But yeah, guys, for now I'm just gonna do the YouTube sort of podcast thing where I talk about the Angels. It's gonna be like posted. I think I'm gonna do it like every couple weeks. I'm not sure yet. I'm really just trying to do new things to this channel. But yeah, that's what we're gonna do in this video. And also I like this because I can go back and edit it when I'm not filming live, because I make a lot of mistakes. And also I get so many comments on YouTube. You can't comment on podcasts and stuff like that, and can't get feedback off of it. I'd rather just make the podcast here to get feedback off of it. And there is a lot to talk about on this podcast. It's not really a podcast, it's sort of just a discussion type of video series thing. I don't even know yet. I'm basically just trying this out. So anyway, if you guys haven't seen my last podcast, it was on July 31st, I believe. Well, that's when I filmed it live. So I think I posted it like August 2nd. Basically, what I talked about in that podcast was what the Angels should do in the deadline, stuff like that. So check that out if you haven't yet. So let's get in what we're going to talk about in this podcast. So we're going to start off with a summary of the month. Since last podcast I posted at the very end of the month, we're going to talk about this month, the Angels' performance in this month. So they started off the month losing 7 straight, pretty much for sure taking them out of the wild card race. I mean, pretty much losing any playoff hope. I mean, I think the Angels are 12 games out now. I mean, it's pretty much over. All we want to see now is player development. I'll get into a little more of that later, the topic of player development, because I have a few things to say about that. But first of all, back onto the month. After getting swept by the Indians and the Reds and losing 2 straight to the Red Sox, the Angels pick up a couple games and split the series against the Red Sox. I was actually at the series at Fenway Park. It was awesome, an amazing experience. Fenway Park's obviously amazing. If you guys haven't seen those vlogs from Fenway Park, definitely check them out. I recommend that. But yeah, getting off topic again, the Angels come back from the road trip and lose 2 out of 3 to the Pirates, and then win 3 out of 4 against the White Sox, which was the only one series so far in the month. Was this last series against the White Sox. So the Angels went 6-10 on the month, won 6, lost 10. And like I said earlier, now 12 games back in the wild card. I think 11.5 to be exact. But it doesn't matter because with a hard schedule for the rest of the year, the Angels have a tough schedule. I mean, the playoff hopes are gone. So obviously, not too much excitement around the performance of this last month. Not really a great summary, not really fun summary to talk about. So what I want to do here is just talk about the positives, and just because I usually do summaries of every game, I just want to do the summaries about the winning games. So I'm just going to summarize the 6 winning games of the month, talk about who did good, stuff like that, good performances. So these 6 games the Angels won this month, half of them were against the White Sox, where the Angels won 3 games against the White Sox. So today, the day I'm filming this, the Angels won 9-2 against the White Sox. Griffin Canning had a great start, giving up only 1 run in 7 innings pitched. Dice had a great game, hitting a home run and driving in 4 RBIs. Ohtani also hit a home run. Calhoun hit a home run. Then Anthony Ben-Boom hit a home run, his first home run in the MLB. So that was today. Yesterday, Angels won 6-5, capitalized by a 4-run 7th inning comeback where Trout and Upton had hits, RBI hits. Goodwin had a bases-loaded walk to take the lead. The bullpen had a great game. Cam Bedrosian, Taylor Cole, Hansel Robles all had scoreless innings. And then the first game of the series versus the White Sox, the Angels won 8-7, where Trout had a 4-4 game, hitting his 40th home run of the season. Ohtani picked up a couple hits, Fletcher picked up a couple hits, and it was just a great hitting game. Then the Angels won one against the Pirates, where Pujols had a 3 RBI game. Rengifo also drove in a couple. Dylan Peters had a great start, going 6 innings, giving up 2 runs. And then the bullpen closed the door. And then the Angels had 2 wins against the Red Sox, which their first win was 12-4, including a 7-run 7th inning. And then that was a game Trout hit his first home run at Fenway Park, way over the Green Monster. I was actually standing on the Green Monster when it happened. Flew over everyone's head, complete bomb. First home run at Fenway Park. That's actually his 15th AL stadium he's hit a home run in. So he's officially hit a home run in every AL stadium, which is pretty impressive when you come to think about it. Anyway, the second win against the Red Sox was a close 5-4 win, where the Angels were down by 1 in the 8th. Cole Calhoun hit a game-tying home run. And then in the top of the 10th, Anthony Benboom hit an RBI single to take the lead. Then the bullpen closed the door. So yeah, that's pretty much the quick highlights of the month and some good performances by some players. So that kind of brings me to my next topic about player development, pretty much. So basically, I kind of have a strong opinion about this, and not everyone agrees, because it's a little more opinionated than facts, but a lot of it has to do with facts. And this is about teams being in playoff races. So a lot of people think that teams should just tank once they're out of the playoffs, aka hope the team loses every game for the rest of the year, hoping to get a better spot in the draft order. And I've seen comments of this, comments on Instagram, stuff like that, people saying they hope the Angels can lose, or voting for the Angels to lose for the rest of the year to get better draft picks, which is just dumb in so many ways. It's hard to say them all. First of all, let me say I hope the Angels, for me, I obviously hope the Angels can win as much as they can before the end of the year. I just hope they do good, obviously, instead of losing. There's a lot of reasons why. First of all, hoping we lose means you're hoping the players do bad and the team does bad as a whole. So, I mean, what good does it do to a team if they lose a lot? It means you want the players to do bad, and that's just terrible to want as an Angels fan, or a fan of any team, is to want your players to do bad. And so if players were to play bad, it would most likely carry on to next year, whatever slumps they're in, whether pitchers are doing badly. If they do really bad for the rest of the year, it could easily carry to the next season. So we hope that our young players, we hope all our players do great so it could carry to next season. We hope we can win so it can carry to next season. So yeah, the only reason you want a team to lose is for better draft picks. So this is another big point. If the Angels were to lose a lot of games for the rest of the year instead of winning, if they would do great and win from now on, as a contrast to lose, they would go down probably up to 5 spots in the draft order. Well, because if you're better in the standings, you're lower in the draft order. If you're one of the worst teams, you have one of the highest draft picks. So where the Angels are at right now, middle of the draft order, the person they would draft in, let's say, the 15th pick would probably 90% chance be the same player they would pick if they had the 20th pick. He would still be available. In drafts, especially baseball, after the first few draft picks or lottery picks, teams choose more of who they've been looking at specifically. Basically, if the Angels had the 15th pick, they would if the Angels had the 15th pick, they would probably be picking the same player if they had the 20th. I'd give a good 90% chance. Basically, if they were to have the 15th pick, they would pretty much pick the same player they would if they were down in the 20th spot, only a few spots lower. So most likely, if the Angels were to win or lose, nothing would change in the draft. If they did good or bad now, nothing would really change in the draft dramatically. Also, to add on, and the many reasons why hoping a team loses is bad is because the Angels specifically, the position they're in is not really a rebuild. Sort of like the end of it, or they're about to start doing really good, because the Angels have such a great young team now ready to go that they'll be most likely be doing great by next year. For example, the contrast to the Orioles team, where they kind of have to go through a full rebuild. But guys, even the Orioles, I wouldn't hope they lose. It's just dumb to hope a team loses and for the team and the players to play bad. Also, what I forgot to mention earlier is the Angels drafted Mike Trout 25th overall. So it means that the Angels can probably pick a great player wherever they are in the draft order. A few more things that I have to point out. Hoping the Angels get good draft picks means that you're really excited for the Angels 2023 season, because that's the earliest any prospects drafted this year would make the majors. And probably not even 2023. Most prospects drafted now would probably be up in the majors by at least 2025. And that's just them being rookies, not even close to their primes yet. I mean, it's not bad to hope to get good players for the far future, but with the win now kind of team that wants to win starting next year, you shouldn't really be thinking about drafts too much. I mean, obviously when draft day comes, stuff like that, you pay attention, but you look at the team right now, look at the rookies in the MLB, and focus on their development, not focus on moving up in a draft order. So yeah, this winning now thing, winning for the rest of the year, brings me to another point. If the Angels have a better record, they would be more attractive to free agents. What team do you think a free agent would want to be on more? An over 500 team or an under 500 team? And that's kind of where the Angels are at, like around 500. What do you think would be better for a free agent? Would it be more attractive to go to an over 500 team or an under 500 team? So, I mean, I'm going to leave it on that. Kind of talked a lot about it, but it's sort of a small issue. Well, it's not like a real issue, it's just like a fan issue. But a lot of people, hope a team will lose, which is just really, really dumb. The only time it kind of works out is like basketball, because you draft a player and then immediately they can make an impact. Baseball is like you draft a player. Well, I explained it. You draft a player, they'll make an impact in like 5 years, unless they're Mike Trout, even like Aaron Judge. You draft them the next year, they're having MVP seasons. So anyway, I think, what else do I have to say? Okay, I want to talk about one more thing before the Q&A, the transactions of the month. Last podcast, like I said, was a day before the trade deadline, something like that. And I was hoping Brad Osmith, I can't say his last name, Brad Osmith would land us a pitcher. I was really hoping he'd get us a pitcher. I talked a lot about it. Make sure you guys check that out again if you haven't yet. I talked a lot about hoping he could get us a pitcher. And basically didn't really do anything except get catcher Max Stassi from the Astros, which that was a good move. That small move, it was still a good move. Max Stassi's a great defensive catcher, one of the best pitch framers in the league, but that's it. And Brad Osmith, he did not do good on the trade deadline, because at the time the Angels were only like 5 games out of the wild card and only had like a couple solid starters that were healthy and just needed starting pitching bad. He didn't get any deals done. He was trying to get deals done, but he just didn't really get anything done, which he should have just tried to do something. And that's kind of one of the few things I'm mad about Brad Osmith about, or I'm mad at him. I'm just going to say Brad because I have such an awful list when I say Osmith. But, so we were only like 5 games out of the wild card, and he should have landed a deal to get a starting pitcher for the end of this year and the next couple of years. Should have been done, because at the time the Angels were still in the race, and then that cost us too, because pitching continued to do really bad during this month. So after the deadline, the Angels did a few small moves, including getting pitcher Miguel De Pozo from the Rangers, who's actually just recalled from AAA for Jose Suarez. Jose Suarez was sent down, and Anthony Benboom was called up a few days after the deadline. He was called up from AAA after Kevin Smith got injured. Also early in the month, Andrelton Simmons got injured, and Wilfredo Tovar was called back up to replace him. And honestly, that's all I can remember, and that's all I kind of wrote down here. And kind of boring transactions. So we're just going to get to the questions now, because I just talked a lot about random stuff. So now is a Q&A. I had a lot of questions off of Instagram. I did a story on Instagram asking for people to send me questions that I'd answer on this podcast. If you guys don't follow me on Instagram, make sure you follow me at angels.vlogs and check out my stories. Probably every maybe couple weeks or so, I'm going to send out a story asking for questions that I'll answer on my next podcast. So make sure you check out my Instagram, angels.vlogs. Anyway, let's get to the questions right now. Alright, let's just start off. I'm just going to name all the questions. I asked for questions related to the Angels, but the first one is an Angels question. I think Kyra said, "Did you see Zach Campbell at the Pirates game? He was there. Yeah, I saw him." And then he wrote, "Oh, never mind," as the next reply, because he saw my video with Zach Campbell in it. Next question, lifetime ball count. Do you not see that I'm asking for questions about the Angels? I will answer him separately outside the podcast. I'm gonna state this exactly how he wrote it, word for word. Did you went to 2002 World Series Game 6 and 7? Paul Fisher, you're probably not even watching this podcast or this video, but how old do you think I am? Did I go to the 2002 World Series Game 6 and 7? If you guys don't know, I'm 17. I was born in 2002. So when the World Series was happening, I was like a few months old. So no, I didn't go there. Next question from Will. Is your name really Angels Vlogs? Yes, that is my birth name. Did you and Zach Campbell meet? I saw Zach Campbell, okay? So many people are asking about that. So many people DM'd me when Zach Campbell was at the Angels game. Whatever. Next question. Finally, it's not a good question, but at least it's a question about the Angels. Why can't we win? From Alex Leone. We're not scoring. The Angels are not scoring as many runs as the opponent. Therefore, the opponent wins the game. When will the Angels make the playoffs? Next year if everything goes well. So many rookies were called up this year. So many injuries. I mean, the talent is pretty much there. They just gotta go out and play well. I think next year's the year. I know a lot of Angel fans just say that every year, next year's the year. But so many people, Matt Theis, Rengifo, Fletcher, they're all going into the next season. Joe Adell's going to be called up. And then the biggest things, there's going to be money to spend. I think 40 more money than last season to spend on pitchers. I think we're going to be able to land Garrett Cole. As long as we get a few starting pitchers, we're at the very least going to be in the race till the very end. And I think the Angels will be in a wild card next year, because obviously the Astros will still be really good, but I'm thinking at least a wild card next year. And next question from Oliver, Angels making wild card. Well, that's this year. This question was, he asked this this was basically earlier this week, but even earlier this week, the Angels were 10 games out of the wild card. So unfortunately, it's really unrealistic unless the Angels go on a historically crazy run. 99 point whatever chance Angels are out of it. Next question. I mean, but you should believe. It's not bad to believe. At least maybe they get to 5 games back the wild card. just do good. Like I said earlier, I hope the Angels can still do good at the end of the season. Next question from TJ White 80, my dad. What do the Angels need to do to compete for the AL West during the offseason? That's a good question because I think if Brad Ausmus can land Garrett Cole and then one more really good starter, I think 3 big things. I think the lineup is honestly set. The lineup is just one of the best in baseball. If Brad Ausmus can land Garrett Cole, one of the best pitchers in baseball, and then one more really good starter, and then one more bullpen piece, either a really good setup or a closer, I think those 3 things can make the Angels at the very least compete for the wild card. Very least, obviously it's still the Astros. But Brad Ausmus can do those 3 things, along with the team staying healthy, everyone doing good, and obviously with Ohtani, hope he stays healthy, and a few of the starting pitchers just step up, then yeah, they can be in the race for the AL West. They can open a lot of eyes next season. Who's your favorite MLB player? Who is my favorite MLB player? Luis Rengifo. No, it's Trout. Trout is not only on pace to be the greatest player of all time, he is the nicest player, the best player off the field. Also, he signs millions of autographs. I've gotten the most autographs over any other MLB player. I've gotten the most autographs from Trout, and I've also gotten the most baseballs from Trout. He's just that amazing of a player, hands down. He's not even my favorite player because of how good he is, just like how good of a person, how amazing, also loyal to his team. I mean, he's just the closest thing to a perfect player / person. Anyway, next question. Who should the Angels trade away and receive? Kind of talked about this in the last podcast. Brian Goodwin, in the trade deadline, he was a possible. I said that he could have been traded. I definitely think Brandon Marsh should be traded because there's nowhere for him. If you guys don't know, he's an Angels' big outfielding prospect. Because once Joe Adell gets called up, there will be Trout, Upton, Adell, and then Goodwin for next year if he doesn't get traded. I think Goodwin or Marsh. Goodwin's an amazing player. I said this in the last podcast, but he deserves to start. He's so good this year, and it's crazy that he doesn't get to start every game. Calhoun and Upton should be transitioning between starting and bench because Goodwin's so good and he deserves to be starting. If he doesn't start next year, then he should maybe be traded for, I don't know, pitching. It's hard to say who the Angels should trade away. Obviously, you don't really know. Brad Ausmus isn't a guy that's really going to trade a big player away. He's never really been like that. He's more like of a signer. He'll sign big names. He signed Ohtani, obviously. Signed Kinsler, Cozart, all the pitchers in free agency, La Stella, Goodwin. He signs pretty much everyone we get and releases players. Instead of trading away, it's more like who will, leave the Angels. Calhoun is probably going to walk in free agency, not be re-signed. And I'm not sure about trades. It's just hard to predict that. But also on the question, who should we receive to be received in a trade, I guess, but more likely free agency. Like I said earlier, starting pitching, pretty much it. Maybe a few more bullpen arms because I think the bullpen is not 100% completed yet. Next question from Nate. Why can't we win home games? Which is a good question. Most teams win a lot more games at home, obviously. I think the Angels are more like 500 at home. The Angels are just, this year, not good in clutch moments. There was a moment earlier in the month where the Angels were playing the Orioles. There was bases loaded, down by 1, running at third, 1 out. Angels didn't win. A lot of close games that the Angels just can't win, especially at home because of the walk-off situations. The Angels just choke a lot of games like by one. I remember the Angels got swept earlier in the season at home against the Yankees. This series I always remember because it kind of represents the season. They lost all 3 games by 1. It's just the Angels kind of failed in close situations, clutch moments this year. And I think that kind of led to us not getting a lot of wins at home as we should have gotten. Next question, Daniel Panadero. Who do you think is the most underrated player on the Angels? Brian Goodwin still. We all saw Tommy Estelle as an all-star. Angels generally have a lot of underrated players. I mean, the Angels are sort of surprisingly like an under-the-radar team. I mean, this call me biased, but I think Trout's underrated. A lot of people know he's widely known as the best player in the league, but most people don't realize like just how insane he's doing. Like, nobody's been ever as good as him in their first 7 seasons. So people don't really understand that. Ohtani is such an underrated hitter. It's crazy how underrated Ohtani is. Call me biased for saying that. It's hard to, now that I'm thinking about it, it's hard to say who the most underrated player is on the Angels because it might not be Goodwin. This is more of just an MLB fan base, not like Angels fan base. This question's hard because amongst Angels fans, I'd say Goodwin's underrated, but amongst fans of baseball, nobody really sees how good Ohtani is. And we're not even talking about pitching. He can be an ace pitching. He did good when he was pitching last year, but he's hitting as one of the top hitters in the league. People don't understand that. His OPS is a little under 900, but this is only his 2nd season. Not sure what his slugging's at. Average high 200s. I need to check his stats though. But I mean, he's just, once he plays this full season of hitting, he's just gonna be one of the best hitters in the league. He definitely, I think, has a future being a silver slugger in DH. Also, Fletcher is an underrated player. He's such a great hitter, great at defense. God, there's a lot of underrated players. Cameron Drogon's underrated. A lot of people in the bullpen are definitely underrated. Griffin Canning's underrated. Well, I don't know, because amongst the Angels, people don't really know who he is around baseball yet. They're going to figure out soon, but amongst Angels fans, knowing that he has kind of a high ERA that doesn't really show how good he is at pitching. Like, his ERA isn't great, but his whip's down, and he's sort of just allowed a lot of runs that shouldn't have came in. I don't know, but basically there's just a lot of underrated players. If I had to say one, I'd say it's Goodwin this year because he's just so good. Win this year. Should the Angels keep Cole Calhoun? I mean, he's getting in his 30s. There's not really space for him. I hate to just say that he should just walk away. He's done so much to the team. He's a Gold Glove. He can hit so well, but he's just streaky. The season before, he was so bad. This season, he's pretty good. I don't think so. There's just not really space for him. What I think could happen is maybe a trade goes down where Goodwin's sent away and then Calhoun's kept off the bench as a lefty bat, which wouldn't be a bad idea. But keeping Cole Calhoun and Goodwin isn't really that possible of a scenario to me. Will they ever make the playoffs with Trout on the team? What do you want me to say? No, they're not going to make the playoffs in the next 12 years. All realistically, yes. This is a sad question too because this is an Angels fan. If you didn't know, they did make the playoff with Trout on the team before. A lot of people genuinely don't know that, which is pretty crazy. How quickly people forgot the Angels had the best record 2014. I think they had the best record, at least in the American League, because they played the wild card team, the Royals. Anyway, next question from Nate. Do you think the Angels will go for more pitchers or position players? Like I said, I think the lineup is more set. I think the Angels are definitely going to be going for more pitchers. Yeah, that's it for that question. JPS Graph's least favorite Angel of all time. It's hard to really say a least favorite Angel. That's pretty tough. Of all time, to be honest, I haven't been a huge Angel fan since like 2016. Before that, I was more of just a kid that was just a fan of baseball. I started really becoming a hardcore fan like last year. So least favorite Angel of all time, I don't know, maybe Hamilton. Josh Hamilton, how he lied his way to an Angels contract. Shouldn't even deserve to be paid after, I believe he took like drugs while he was on the team. Probably wasn't putting in work effort. I don't have really too big of memories of him playing on the team, but yeah, just hearing about what he did, zero respect for him. And do you think Jose Suarez is major league talent? For this one, I want to look at his minor league stats. Hasn't been good this year in the MLB. If you guys didn't know, he's been called up. He was called up, I think, mid-season. Hasn't been good. I think he's just been rushed. I think he's just been rushed up to the MLB, and he just deserves at least another full season in the minors. In Salt Lake this year, he's had a 3.6 ERA. 2018 in Inland Empire, he had a 2 ERA. Angels Arizona League, 1.9 ERA. 3.6 in Single A. He's put up low numbers in the minors. I think that can translate to the MLB, but he's only 21. I don't know why he was rushed this much. It's pretty weird. That's what goes back to Brad Ausmus needs to get pitching, where players like Jose Suarez that shouldn't be in the MLB till at least 2021, I think. But yeah, I definitely think he could be a solid arm in a few years. Who do you think we need in our bullpen? I think Hansel Robles is a good closer. I really like him. He's just not that, he gets to 0-2 so quickly, but then he's a little wild there. If he just works on that, he can be so good. Better than he already is. He's been really good this year. I think we need at least one more sort of setup man. Buttrey's kind of in that role, but he's been a little sloppy recently. I don't think he's quite there. And there's a few people in our bullpen like Luis Garcia, Justin Anderson, that are just too mediocre and honestly probably not even should be in an MLB bullpen. So at least one, maybe two more solid relievers. I don't know if you're asking for anyone specific. I don't know anyone specific. Do you think the Angels will be aggressive on finally getting pitching rotation next year? I hope they are. They better be. I think Epler is obviously going to be trying really hard to get starting pitching. That's kind of all we need. Whether he'll get the deals done or not depends. I think he will be aggressive on getting a better pitching rotation. So yes, I do think the Angels will be aggressive on getting a pitching rotation next year. From Jason, do you think we have a shot at the wild card next year? I mean, for sure. Especially, even without Billy Epler getting anybody in the offseason, with just this team they have now, going in next year, I think they'll have a shot. So, I mean, yeah, for sure. Angels 2020 AOS Division Champions. If we get Garrett Cole from the Astros, I like that. That's a really good. I like the positivity. I think it's a good chance. I think the Angels can sort of be like the Twins, where the Twins just came up out of nowhere and they're in the race with the Indians. I think they're a few games back now. I think the Angels can do that for sure, be in the running for the AL West. Because the Astros, I've been saying this, I think Justin Verlander is going to slow down one of these years. If we get Garrett Cole, I don't know how long the Astros have Zach Greinke. That's obviously a problem in itself. I mean, their whole hitting though, George Springer, Jose Altuve, Alex Bregman, Carrera, they're all young. I think Altuve is like the oldest. he's getting a little worse, but I mean, they have such a good young core in hitting, but the Angels have such a good young core now. I think the Angels can be in the running for the AL West if they play to their full potential next year. Okay, I think the last question, I'm getting really tired. Do you think the Angels will ever get good pitching? Yes. Will ever? Yeah. I mean, I think it's going to be soon. I think it's going to be out this offseason. We're all hoping it's going to be this offseason. Billy Epler can get some good pitching. So yes, I do think that. That is it for the Q&A. I think that took a little longer than I think. I like the whole Q&A thing. Let me guys know in the comments what you think of that. If you have any other questions, you can comment it. I'll be doing stories, Instagram stories, asking for comments and questions. So yeah, let me know if you guys enjoyed this. Make sure you like the video, subscribe. Check out my Instagram link in the description. Check out my merch link in the description. And I'll see you guys next video. Thank you for watching / listening. Next Angels podcast / video will be out probably within a week or two. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for my other videos. And I'll see you next video. Peace.